For 10 years she had no warm bed, not one night of comfort, not one morning of peace. Her name was lost to most of the galaxy, but she remembered it clearly. She was Lyra, once a daughter of a proud world. Her people were dreamers, builders, singers of great songs, but all of that was gone now, taken in fire and war. The cold void of space had become her only home. Every ship she found was broken, every station abandoned. She learned to steal scraps of food from ruins, to drink recycled water from cracked pipes. Each night she lay on hard metal floors, shaking from the freezing air. Her body had grown thin, her skin pale, her eyes sharp with hunger. She remembered warmth, but it was like a dream now. The soft blankets of her childhood, her mother's hand pulling the covers tight, the laughter of her sisters around the fire. That warmth had been replaced with endless cold, cold that cut into her bones, cold that never let her sleep. Still, she did not die. Something inside her refused to give up. For 10 years she wandered through wreckage, 10 years with no comfort, no safety, no family, but still alive, still moving forward. One night, or what counted as night in the emptiness, her tiny shuttle drifted near a human outpost. She had heard stories of humans. Some said they were dangerous, too quick to fight, too stubborn to bend. But others whispered that humans had something rare, that humans could show kindness even to strangers. She did not know which story was true. Her shuttle creaked as it floated closer. The fuel was almost gone, the heat almost gone. Her fingers were numb, her breath came out in thin white clouds. She pressed her face against the cracked glass of the cockpit, and then she saw it. Light, a glow in the darkness, a human settlement on the edge of the void. Her heart pounded. She whispered to herself, "Just one night, please. Just one night." In a warm bed? Her voice was dry, broken, almost gone from years of silence. The closer she came, the more the lights grew. Tall metal towers with windows glowing gold, ships resting in their docks, humans walking in the corridors. It looked like a dream of life, of warmth, of hope. But dreams could turn to nightmares. If she landed, would they shoot her down? Would they chain her as a prisoner? Would they turn her away to freeze in the dark? She did not know, but she had no choice left. Her shuttle was dying, her body was breaking, her hope was almost gone. She had wandered for 10 years. 10 years of cold nights, 10 years of hunger, 10 years of silence. If she did not try now, she would never survive another season of emptiness. Her hand shook as she touched the controls. A red light blinked on the console, the last warning of fuel. She aimed the shuttle at the human outpost and sent out a signal. Her voice, thin and trembling, moved across the stars. "Please, this is not a trick, I beg you. One night in a warm bed. Do not send me away. I have nowhere else to go." The message echoed into the void. She closed her eyes and waited, her heart thundering like a drum in her chest. Would they answer? Would they let her in? Or would they leave her to die like so many others had done before? The cold pressed closer. Her vision blurred. Her body begged for sleep, but she knew if she slept she might never wake again. So she stared at the human lights, a world of warmth so near, and whispered once more, "Just one night." The silence of the void answered first, but then at last a voice came crackling through her radio. A human voice, strong, cautious, but alive. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself. You are approaching restricted airspace. State your purpose immediately." Her breath caught. Her lips trembled as she leaned close to the transmitter. Her final chance, her last hope. "I am alone. I am not armed, please, I only ask. One night in a warm bed." And then the channel went silent again. The humans had heard her. Now she could only wait. The cold void wrapped around her shuttle, whispering that time was running out. Would the humans open their doors, or would the void take her forever? The voice on the radio faded into silence. Lyra sat frozen in her dying shuttle, her hands shaking, her chest heavy with fear. For a moment she thought they would ignore her, let her drift into the dark, her eyes filled with tears, the first tears she had shed in years. Then at last the human voice returned. Unknown vessel, your signal has been received. Prepare for escort. Her heart leapt. A weak spark of hope burned in her chest. They were not rejecting her. Not. Yet from the black horizon, 2 human patrol ships glided into view. Their lights flashed across her tiny shuttle, scanning every crack and corner. The sight of them made her body tremble. These ships were powerful, alive, not the broken wrecks she had scavenged for years. Their presence was like giants standing before her. The human pilot spoke again, firm and cold. You will follow our path. Do not deviate. Any sudden move and you will be destroyed. Lyra nodded even though they could not see her. Her voice cracked as she whispered back, Yes, I understand. Her shuttle creaked as it followed the human ships. The engines wheezed. The controls flickered. She prayed silently it would hold long enough. And then she saw it. The human outpost in full view. A fortress of light in the darkness. Metal towers rose like blades. Windows glowed with warmth. Docking bays opened wide, pulling in great vessels that looked strong and alive. Her heart ached. She had not seen such life in 10 years. She pressed her face to the cracked glass, staring at humans walking on the platforms, their movements calm, confident as if the cold void outside meant nothing to them. Her shuttle entered a docking corridor, the magnetic locks pulling her craft down. The groaning metal under her feet went still. Her body slumped with exhaustion, but her mind raced with fear. What if they thought she was a spy? What if they cast her back into the dark? The airlock hissed open. White lights flooded her eyes, forcing her to squint. A group of humans stood waiting, armored and armed, their helmets glowing faintly, their weapons pointed at her shuttle. A voice boomed through a speaker. Step out slowly, hands where we can see them. Lyra's knees trembled as she rose. Her legs felt weak after years of wandering. She lifted her hands and stepped into the light. The humans stared, whispering to one another. They had seen many things in the void, but not often a lone alien. Woman asking for shelter. Her clothes were torn, her body thin, her eyes sunken with years of hunger. But still she stood tall. Her voice shook as she spoke. I mean no harm. I only beg for one night in a warm bed. That is all I ask. The soldiers glanced at each other, their helmets hiding their faces. Some lowered their weapons, slightly, others kept them steady. One soldier muttered, She could be a scout, leading raiders to us. Another answered, Or she could be telling the truth. The tension was heavy. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, a man stepped forward, not in full armor, but in the uniform of command. His face was sharp, his eyes steady, his voice strong. I am Commander Hale. This is human territory. No outsider is allowed here without reason. He studied her closely, his gaze piercing as if searching her soul. Tell me why we should not throw you back into the void. Lyra's lips trembled. She lowered her head, her voice breaking. For 10 years I have wandered. For 10 years I have slept on metal floors. I have no family, no home, no warmth. If you send me away, I will die. All I ask is one night. Just one night to feel warm again. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Some looked at her with suspicion, others with pity. Commander Hale's jaw tightened. He was a man used to making hard choices. He could not risk his people for a stranger. And yet, there was something in her voice, something human. It was not a lie. It was pure desperation. At last, he spoke. You will stay one night, under guard. You will not leave the quarters we give you. If this is a trick, if danger comes, you will regret it. His words were sharp, but they carried a trace of mercy. Lyra's knees nearly gave out. Tears blurred her vision. She bowed her head, whispering, Thank you, Commander. Thank you. The soldiers lowered their weapons, though some still eyed her with doubt. One of them guided her down a corridor. For the first time in 10 years, she walked inside a place filled with light and life. The air was warm, the walls gleamed. She passed humans who stared at her in silence, some with fear, some with curiosity. She kept her head low, her heart beating fast. At last they led her into a small room. It was simple, a bed, a blanket, a light on the wall. But to her, it was more than she had ever dreamed. Her hand reached out, trembling, touching the blanket as if it might vanish. She sat slowly on the bed, her body sinking into the softness. Warmth wrapped around her like a forgotten memory. Her eyes closed. Tears rolled down her face and she whispered into the silence, "Just one night." But outside the room, Commander Hale stood watching through the glass, his eyes narrowed, his mind uneasy. Something about her felt true, yet something else felt hidden. He whispered to himself, "One night, alien. One night. And we will see who you really are." The small room was quiet. Lyra sat on the edge of the human bed, her hands clutching the blanket as if it were treasure. For the first time in 10 years, she felt warmth. The soft fabric pressed against her skin, and she almost wept again. But she knew her peace could not last. Outside her door, voices rose. The humans were arguing, their words echoed down the steel corridors of the outpost. Some voices were sharp with anger, others heavy with doubt. They were deciding her fate, and she could hear enough to know it was dangerous. "She is lying," one soldier barked. "No one survives 10 years alone in the void. She must be a scout for raiders," another voice, calmer but firm, answered. "And if she is not, if she is truly what she claims, then we are about to turn away someone who only asked for a bed." Commander Hale stood at the center of the room, his arms crossed, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning the faces of his officers. He listened to the voices around him but gave nothing away. Inside, however, he wrestled with the weight of the choice. One officer slammed a fist against the table. "Commander, this is madness. We cannot risk the safety of our people for one alien. What if the raiders track her here? What if this is the start of an invasion?" Another voice rose, softer but filled with passion. "Sir, she is thin, broken. She looks like she has suffered. Does that look like a spy to you?" The room divided in two. Half demanded she be cast back into the void. Half wanted to show mercy. And Commander Hale stood in silence, the fire of both arguments burning in his mind. At last he raised a hand, and the room grew quiet. "Listen," he said slowly, his voice steady as stone. "You all see her weakness. You all hear her words. But none of us know the truth. This could be mercy or this could be a trap, and I will not gamble with the lives under my command." The silence was heavy. Then he added, "But neither will I let fear blind us to what makes us human." Some officers frowned, others looked surprised. Hale turned toward the viewing window that showed the alien woman inside the small room. She sat curled on the bed, her shoulders shaking as if she were crying quietly. It was a sight that pierced even his hardened heart. He spoke again, his voice firm. "We give her one night, no more. She will be watched, every move recorded, every word noted. If danger follows her, if this is a trap, then we will act without mercy. But until then, she remains here, under our protection." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Some grumbled, others nodded reluctantly. The choice was made, the command was final. Still, doubt lingered in their eyes. As the meeting ended, Hale walked down the corridor. His footsteps echoed against the steel floor. He stopped outside Lyra's room and looked at her through the glass once more. Her body was small against the wide bed, her eyes closed as though she feared even to breathe too loudly. She did not look like a spy. She looked like someone crushed by years of suffering. But Hale knew better than to trust appearances. Inside the room, Lyra stirred. She had heard some of the voices, felt the weight of their suspicion. Fear pressed heavy against her chest. At any moment, they might drag her out, throw her into the void again. Her hands clenched tighter around the blanket, she whispered to herself, "Please let them believe me. Just one night. Please." Meanwhile, in the mess hall, the arguments did not end. Soldiers gathered in groups, whispering, debating. "She's a danger," some said. "She's a victim." Others replied. The outpost was alive with unease. One alien guest had turned their calm order into storm. Late that night, Commander Hale sat alone in his office. The screens before him glowed with reports. Background scans showed her shuttle was nearly dead, its engines ruined, its fuel gone, its systems failing. Nothing in the data suggested she had the power to deceive them. And yet his mind replayed the warning of his officers, no one survives 10 years alone. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes closing. Humans had built their place in the galaxy by being cautious, but also by being bold. Mercy was a risk, but it was also strength. He remembered the look in her eyes when she begged. It was not the look of a warrior or a spy. It was the look of someone who had lost everything. Far away in the quiet of the guest room, Lyra lay awake. Her eyes traced the glow of the ceiling light. She had warmth at last, but peace still escaped her. Every sound of footsteps in the hall made her tense. Every whisper of voices beyond the door made her fear the choice would turn against her. She closed her eyes and thought of her people, the faces she had lost, the songs they once sang. She thought of how she had begged tonight, not for riches, not for power, but for one night in warmth. Her heart ached with shame, but also with fragile hope. Perhaps humans were different. Perhaps humans would not cast her aside. In another chamber, Commander Hale gave his final order. To the guards, she stays under watch until dawn. If she moves, if she tries to leave, alert me at once. The guards nodded, their rifles gleaming in the corridor light. One of them muttered, "Commander, I don't trust her." Hale answered quietly, "Neither do I, soldier, neither do I. But tonight she is our guest, and tomorrow we will see the truth." The choice was made, but the air in the outpost was thick with unease. The humans had allowed her one night, and yet, in the silence of the cold void outside, danger was already moving closer, unseen. The room was quiet, too quiet for sleep. Lyra lay on the bed, but her eyes refused to close. The warmth wrapped around her, yet her heart trembled with unease. She feared that if she drifted off, the humans would drag her out, send her back into the void. So she stayed awake, her mind pulling her into memories she had tried to bury. 10 years of silence had not erased the voices of her past. They returned now, soft and sharp, haunting her like ghosts. The laughter of her sisters, the gentle songs of her people, the glow of fires under open skies. All gone in one night of fire. She remembered the day the raiders came. Dark ships fell from the sky like demons. The alarms had screamed through the city. Her people ran, but there was nowhere to hide. Flames rose higher than towers. Screams filled the streets, and the raiders did not stop until everything was ash. Lyra had been only a girl then. She had clutched her mother's hand. Her father shouted for them to run, but in the chaos, in the storm of fire, she had lost them. The last sight of her family was her mother's face vanishing in the smoke. Since that night she had wandered, first through ruins, then through abandoned stations, at last into the cold void itself. Each day a battle to survive. Each night, a question of whether she would live to see the next. Her body grew thin, her spirit grew heavy, but she never forgot her people's songs. Sometimes when the silence was too sharp, she sang to herself in whispers. Her voice cracked, but the melody carried memories of warmth. Those songs kept her alive, even when she believed hope was gone. Now, lying in a human bed, she felt the weight of those memories pressing down. The blanket was soft, but her heart was heavy. She whispered into the stillness, "Mother, Father, I am still here, but I am alone." Outside her door, a shadow lingered. One of the guards stood listening. He had not expected to hear the alien whisper in the night. Her voice was soft, trembling, filled with pain. For a moment, his suspicion cracked, replaced by something human. Pity. Commander Hale, too, could not sleep. He sat in his office, reviewing. The reports, the scans showed no hidden weapons, no secret devices. Her shuttle was nothing but a shell. But doubt gnawed at him. The galaxy was cruel and mercy was dangerous. He thought of the look in her eyes when she begged. It was too real to be fake. But Hale had seen enemies use truth as a weapon before. Back in the small room, Lyra's mind fell deeper into memory. She remembered the first winter after the fall of her world. Alone in a half-destroyed station, she had curled against cold metal, her breath fogging in the frozen air. her stomach empty for days, her body shaking so hard she thought her bones would break. But still she did not die. She had found scraps of food, drops of water, enough to last one more day and then another. It was survival, not living, but survival kept her moving. Her lips moved silently now as she remembered the prayer her people once spoke. May the stars watch over us, may warmth find us, may we not be forgotten. She had prayed those words 1,000 times. For 10 years the stars had given no answer, but tonight, here among humans, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, someone had listened. Tears touched her eyes. She let them fall into the blanket staining the soft fabric. She had forgotten what it was to cry freely. Tears were a waste in the void. They only froze and turned to salt. But here, in the warmth of a human room, they felt real again. Yet her heart was not free. Even in her grief, she knew the danger was not gone. The raiders who destroyed her world were still out there. And if they had followed her trail, if they had tracked her shuttle through the dark, then this human outpost might soon face the same fire her people had faced. The thought made her shiver. Would the humans blame her if death came to their doors? Would they call her a curse, a burden, a danger they should never have allowed inside? She pressed her hands to her face, whispering, "Please, not again. Please, not them too." Outside, Commander Hale stood by the glass. He had come quietly, curious, unable to rest. Through the window he saw her curled on the bed, her body trembling, her lips moving in prayer. She looked broken, but not false. Not a spy, not a warrior, just a survivor. And for the first time he wondered if letting her stay longer than one night might not be a mistake. But before he could turn away, an alarm light blinked on the wall. A soft red glow, a warning signal. One of the scanners had picked up movement. In the far edges of space, unidentified ships approaching the sector. Hale's eyes narrowed. His hand clenched into a fist. He whispered under his breath, "Let's hope she is not the reason they are here." The outpost was never truly silent. Engines hummed in the walls, machines breathed like sleeping giants. But tonight a new sound broke the calm. A sharp alarm echoing through the corridors, low and steady. Warning. Commander Hale froze where he stood, his eyes locked on the red glow flashing above the scanner screen. The display showed faint shapes, moving on the edge of their territory, not human ships, not friendly signals, unknown. "Show me closer," he ordered, his voice tight. The image sharpened and his jaw hardened. Dark silhouettes, sharp and cruel, drifting nearer with slow patience. Predators in the void. Lyra felt the change even before the alarm reached her room. She woke with a jolt, her chest tightening as if her body already knew. Her ears caught the faint sirens, her heart pounded. She rushed to the small window, and in the far distance she saw them, faint lights moving against the endless dark. Her breath caught in her throat. She knew those shapes. She had seen them before, the raiders. Her knees buckled. She pressed her hands against the cold glass. "No, not again," she whispered. Her body shook as the memories returned. The fire, the screams, the smell of burning stone. They had found her, even here. And now the humans were in danger. Outside her room, the guards were already shouting. Into radios, all stations alert. Unknown ships inbound. Prepare defenses. The sound of boots pounded against metal floors. Weapons clicked as they were armed. The outpost was alive. No longer calm but sharp. Like a blade drawn from its sheath, Commander Hale stormed into the command center. His officers stood at their posts, their faces pale but steady. "How many ships?" he demanded. "5, maybe more, hiding in the dark," came the reply. "They are holding formation, watching us." The air grew heavy. Hale's mind raced. Were they here for resources? Or were they here for the alien woman sleeping under his roof? He clenched his teeth, his eyes narrowing. She had begged for one night, and the very next night enemies appeared at their gates. Was this coincidence? Or had his officers been right all along? He turned sharply. "Bring her to me," he ordered. "Now." 2 soldiers rushed to her quarters. They opened the door, weapons raised. "Move!" One snapped. "You're coming to the commander." Lyra stepped back, her hands raised, fear in her eyes. "I know what you've seen," she whispered. "They've come, haven't they? The raiders. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances but dragged her quickly through the corridors. Humans stared as she passed, suspicion burning in their eyes. Some whispered, "She brought them here." Others spat words under their breath. "Curse! Traitor!" Her chest ached, each word cutting like a knife. She wanted to scream that it was not true, that the raiders hunted her, not followed her, but her voice caught in her throat, trapped by fear. In the command center, she faced Commander Hale. His eyes were colder now, sharper. "You know these ships," he said, not a question but a fact. Lyra bowed her head, her voice breaking. "Yes, they are raiders, the same who destroyed my people, the same who hunted me for 10 years. They never stop, they never rest, and now they are here." The officers muttered angrily. "She led them to us. This was her plan." "Commander, cast her out before it is too late." Hale raised a hand and the room fell silent. He stepped closer to her, his gaze burning. "Tell me the truth," he said. "Did you bring them here?" Lyra's knees gave way and she sank to the floor. Tears streamed down her face. "I swear I did not. I swear on the memory of my family. They destroyed my world. They destroyed everything I loved. They are the reason I beg for a warm bed. They will not stop until they take everything from me, from you, from anyone who gives me shelter." The command center was silent. Her words trembled in the air. Some felt her pain, others still doubted. But Commander Hale's eyes stayed locked on hers, and in that moment he believed she was not lying, not entirely. He turned to his officers, his voice sharp as steel. "Enough whether she brought them or not. They are here, and they are a threat. Prepare defenses, arm all stations. This outpost will not fall." The officers saluted, tension heavy in their faces. The command center filled with shouts and movement. Orders flew, screens lit with data. Outside, turrets powered up, shields flickered alive. The outpost braced itself like a warrior lifting its shield. Lyra stood trembling in the corner, her hands clenched, her voice soft. "They will not stop, you don't know them, they will burn everything." Commander Hale looked at her, his jaw tight, his voice steady. "Then they will learn what it means to face humans." The alarms wailed louder. The scanners showed the raider ships closing in, dark predators circling their prey. The void outside was alive with tension, and inside, every heart beat fast with fear and fire. The threat had returned and the battle was about to begin. The void outside the outpost was alive with danger. The raider ships moved like shadows, circling, waiting for the chance to strike. Their sharp black hulls gleamed faintly under the distant stars, predators in the dark, hungry for blood. Inside, the human outpost, alarm screamed through every corridor. Soldiers ran to their stations, boots pounding against steel floors. Weapons hummed with power, shields lit the air with a faint blue glow. The calm of yesterday was gone, replaced by fire and steel. Commander Hale stood tall in the command center. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "All gunners ready, all pilots prepare to launch, shields to maximum. No one panics, no one breaks, we hold this outpost." The officers answered in unison, "Yes, Commander." Their eyes burned, with fear but also with determination. Humans had faced war before, and tonight they would face it again. Lyra stood in the corner of the command center, her body trembling. She knew the raiders' cruelty. She had seen their fire before. Her lips whispered, "They will not stop. They will burn everything." But as she looked at the humans, she saw something she had never seen in her own people. They did not run. They did not cry. They prepared to fight. The first strike came without warning. A raider ship fired, and the blast slammed against the outpost shields. The floor shook. Lights flickered. Sparks fell from the ceiling. "Shields holding," an officer shouted. "Minor damage to the outer ring. Return fire," Hale ordered. Cannons roared. Beams of light cut across the void. One raider ship dodged, but another was hit. Its hull cracked, fire burst from its side. The raiders scattered, regrouping quickly. The battle had begun. Human fighters launched from the docks, small ships darting into the darkness like arrows. Their engines burned bright, their weapons sharp. They weaved between enemy fire, striking hard and fast. One raider ship exploded, debris spinning into the void, but two more closed in behind, their guns blazing. Inside the outpost, the walls shook again. The soldiers steadied themselves, their faces grim, yet no one ran, no one surrendered. They shouted orders, repaired systems, and kept fighting. The humans stood together. Lyra's heart pounded as she watched. For years she had seen only fear, only people crushed under the power of the raiders. But here, before her eyes, the humans showed something different. They did not bow. They did not break. They fought back with fire of their own. Commander Hale moved between screens, his voice steady. Keep the shields up. Target their leader. Break their formation. Do not let them surround us. His officers obeyed without question. Their hands moved fast, their eyes sharp. The command center was a storm of light and sound. But Hale stood calm in the middle of it, like a rock in the tide. Another explosion shook the walls. The shields flared bright and dimmed. Shields at 60%, came the report. Hold them, Hale said. Hold them. Outside, the human fighters struck again. One pilot dove under enemy fire, spinning through the black. Her ship fired at the raider engines. The enemy ship burst into flames, vanishing into the stars. The humans cheered, but only for a breath. For every raider destroyed, another moved in to take its place. Lyra pressed her hands to the glass, her breath fogging the surface. She whispered, "They will not stop. They will keep coming. They always do." Her voice shook, her body trembling with fear. But then she saw the humans again, not giving up, not slowing down, fighting harder, stronger together. One soldier near her muttered, "Now I see why the galaxy fears us." His words echoed. In her heart, for the first time in years, she felt something other than despair. She felt awe. The raiders grew frustrated. Their leader pushed forward, a massive ship darker than the rest, its cannons charged, power building like thunder. The humans braced. Commander Hale's voice rang. "Out. All weapons, target that ship, give it everything." The outpost roared with fire. Cannons blazed, fighters circled, missiles launched. Light filled the void, tearing through the darkness. The raider flagship shuddered, its shields cracking. The humans pressed harder, refusing to yield. And then, with a final strike, the raider flagship exploded. Fire lit the void like a new star. The remaining raiders broke formation. Some tried to fight, others fled into the darkness. But the humans gave chase, their fighters striking like wolves. One by one, the raiders fell or vanished into the endless night. Silence returned to the outpost. The alarms dimmed. The guns cooled. The void was quiet once more. The humans had stood their ground, and they had won. In the command center, cheers rose, soldiers clapped each other on the back, voices loud with triumph. But Commander Hale did not smile. His eyes turned toward Lyra, her face pale, her body shaking, her eyes wide with shock and awe. She whispered, almost to herself, "They fought them, and they won." Her voice broke. "For 10 years I thought no one could stand against them. No one could survive, but humans. Humans did not just survive, they fought back." Commander Hale stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. "Remember this, alien. Humans do not fear the void. Humans do not bow to raiders. You asked for one night in our bed. Tonight you saw what one night among humans truly means." Lyra stared at him, her heart torn between fear and hope. For the first time in a decade, she believed the raiders might not be unstoppable. For the first time in a decade, she felt a spark of safety. But deep in the void, she knew the raiders would return, stronger, angrier, and the true war had only just begun. The battle was over. Smoke drifted through the corridors of the outpost. Sparks hissed from broken wires. The smell of fire clung to the air. But the humans stood tall, tired, but unbroken. They had faced the raiders and sent them fleeing back into the void. Lyra sat in silence, her hands trembling against her knees. Her eyes stared at the ceiling as if she still heard the echoes of explosions. Her heart pounded, her breath sharp. For 10 years she had only known fear, and yet tonight she had seen something else. She had seen humans fight, not only for themselves, but for each other, together, strong, unshaken. The command center calmed slowly. Voices lowered, systems repaired. Soldiers returned to their posts, their movements steady even in exhaustion. Commander Hale stood in the middle, his face lined with weariness, his eyes still sharp. He looked at Lyra, watching her with the same suspicion as before. But now there was something new in his gaze, a weight of understanding. He stepped toward her, his boots heavy on the steel floor. "You saw what we are," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "We are not raiders, we are not prey. Humans do not bow to fear." Lyra lifted her eyes to him, tears still glistening. "I never believed anyone could fight them," she whispered. "My people ran. They hid, they begged, and still the raiders burned them, but you stood, you fought, you won." Her words stirred whispers among the officers nearby. Some softened, their anger fading. Others still eyed her with doubt, suspicion refusing to let go. But Hale raised a hand, silencing them. He studied her for a long moment, then spoke again. "You came here begging for one night in a warm bed, and I gave it to you, under guard, under suspicion. But now the choice has changed." Lyra's breath caught, her heart beating faster. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Was he about to cast her out, send her back into the void even after what she had seen? Hale's eyes narrowed slightly. "We fought the raiders tonight, and they will return stronger, angrier. You know them. You have lived with their shadow for 10 years. That makes you valuable." Lyra froze, confusion flickering across her face. "Valuable?" she whispered. "I am only a survivor, broken, hunted. What value could I have?" The commander stepped closer, his voice hard but steady. "You know their ways, their tactics, their hunger. You have seen what they do to worlds, what they do to people. That knowledge can help us. You want more than one night? Then stay. Stay among us. Learn our ways. Fight with us. And you will never be alone in the void again." The word struck her like lightning. Stay. The idea felt impossible, yet it burned with hope. Her heart pulled between fear and longing. For 10 years she had wandered, never trusting, never belonging. And now here a human was offering her a place. Tears filled her eyes again. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "You would let me stay? After all the danger I brought?" Hale's gaze was unflinching. "You did not bring the raiders, they were already out there, but you brought us a warning. And for that, you have earned a chance. Not trust, not yet, but a chance." The room was silent, every soldier listening. Some frowned, others nodded, but none spoke against their commander's word. Lyra's body shook as she bowed her head. Her voice broke with gratitude. "Then I will stay. I will learn. I will help you fight them." For the first time in 10 years, her words were not a plea for survival. They were a promise, a spark of strength she thought she had lost long ago. That night, in the quiet of her small quarters, Lyra touched the blanket again. It no longer felt like a gift borrowed for one night. It felt like the beginning of something new. A new home. A new life. She whispered into the dark. "Mother, Father, I have found them. I am not alone anymore." But outside the window, the void stretched endless. Far away in its shadows, the raiders were regrouping. Their leaders snarled orders. Their fleets grew larger. Their eyes burned with rage. At the thought of humans who dared resist them, the war was not over, it was only beginning. And Lyra, once a lost wanderer begging for warmth, now stood at the edge of something greater. She was no longer only a survivor. She was part of a new story, a story where humans fought back, a story where she would fight too. The stars above the outpost glimmered cold and distant, but inside, for the first time in 10 long years, Lyra felt warmth that reached her heart. She was home, at least for now, and tomorrow the real fight would begin.